everybody. So our next main topic here is going to shoot us from the DC universe over to the Marvel. I don't even know if are we still calling it the MCU when it's Disney Plus related at this point, or is it
I
going to
think
have like
so. Yeah.
I
No.
guess it would still be MCU if it's all connected. But the first, we got three Marvel related, and I guess three MCU related topics at this point. And the first one being that kind of like a positive and a negative about WandaVision. And I'll start with a negative is that it turns out we're not getting this thing directly after Mandalorian. At least not in December like everyone assumed it was going to be. We're not actually going to be getting it until January 15th. And
I don't even think that was. I don't think that was assumed. I think they officially announced that it was coming
they did. They
by
said
the end of the
2020.
year.
Yeah, they said by
Yeah.
2020. They
So
did. They
this
didn't
is
say
this
a
is
date, but
this is a delay, a pushback. But everybody, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
at this point, everybody had assumed it was it was December. I think
Yeah.
because we already made it this far without a release date. So yeah, it's disappointing that we've got it.
I mean, in a year that we've had no Marvel MCU related content,
I know.
this was the last shining hope that we had of getting anything MCU related in 2020, and it's not happening now. But the good news with it is, I don't know, it's interesting news at least, and it gives us some indication because I heard people talking about this before, where with WandaVision, and we kind of seen in the trailers that they're going for I don't know, like, we don't really know the full details on the series by any means, but even from the trailers, we saw that they were gonna be like, it was gonna be heavily influenced by sitcoms. It just all sorts of sitcoms, and we see that in the trailers and everything, and it turns out, like, they went as far as shooting the first episode even in front of a live studio audience, and, they shot it in black and white because I think that one's, like, set in, like, the '50s, if I'm remembering correctly, and they even had, like, everybody on set was wearing, like, '50s era clothing, and everyone in the audience was like it was like a big, LARP event for, like, the '50s sitcom, like, everybody was doing it, and, which was kinda cool. So I'm really the thing is, though, with this article, it actually says that that's episode 1, which that's the news that, like, I didn't hear anybody talking about. Everyone was talking about, "Oh, they shot this episode in black and white in front of studio audience," but no one was talking about, like, it being episode 1 because I kept hearing so many people, like, speculating, like, if the whole series was gonna be like that and everything. Because, like I said, we don't know. We still don't know. We had the shot in the trailer of Vision going out in seemingly modern time and his Vision superhero uniform, cape, and all, and it was almost like a Truman Show kinda thing where he flies out to the world and looks around and goes to the woman in the car and whatever. So, like, we knew it was gonna be jumping around, but, now that we have confirmation that episode 1's like that, it almost, I have more questions as to what the rest of the show is gonna be like, but what did you think about this stuff?
I think this is super cool. I could not like I didn't think I mean just wanting more, just needing and wanting the MCU back in my life. I was already excited for this show, but hearing stuff like this is so cool to me. I used to watch, I used to see when I was a little Nick at Night, the Leave It to Beaver. I remember my dad watched The Honeymooners. So I've had some of that old, 50s black and white sitcoms sprinkled throughout my television viewing life, and so I think it's really cool how they're going to do this. How, at least in my mind, what I imagine they're going to do, which is play this series out over classic sitcoms of the various decades. I'll also say I think that this is a genius marketing move by Disney and Disney Plus. Because this is going to be the first episode, this is going to really set the tone for the series, but it's also going to be everybody's first experience with a Marvel television show. And it's a risky move. I could see them, they roll this show out and people turn on their TV and they get this black and white thing that is set in this old timey, is filmed in this weird kind of way with this live studio audience, which you really don't see much of anymore, and I could see maybe some people being turned off by that. And I think getting out ahead of that and preparing people, saying, "Hey, look, this is what's going to happen." Um, I think that's a brilliant marketing move, so people don't go into it and have these expectations that are either completely off base or at least are wrong to begin with. They don't
Yeah.
go into it expecting one thing and get this really strange, out there, different thing. So I
Hmm.
think it's a really smart move on their part, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I totally agree. And another thing too that this article points out, because like I said, I was reading and seeing a bunch of people talking about like information coming out about this episode or this series, and they were saying it was like confirmed that it was going to be a 6 hour. It was 6 hours long, but like
Yeah,
this article actually is confirming that it's a 6 episode thing. Because I saw people were wondering, is it gonna be 30 minutes, episodes like Mandalorian? Because like that
sure.
ended up turning a lot of people off. So like they were kind of shook, we'll say, when first episode of Mandalorian dropped, and it was only like 30, 40 minutes long. You know what I mean? And I'll say too, this last episode of Mandalorian, which we'll talk about on a later date, um, it was only like 30 minutes long, but it felt a lot longer.
It
Like
did.
it almost felt like
Lots of story.
yeah, not in like a bad way, not like it drug on. Like
No.
it was like my favorite episode of the season, but like they crammed a lot of information into it, and just the way it
Mhm.
played out, it felt like a nice hour long episode, even though
Yeah,
it was, I think, the shortest one this season.
it was.
So
Yep.
crazy, but yeah. So we know this is gonna be 6 episodes long, and I totally agree. I'm looking forward to it. I can totally see how. I agree with like your point on the marketing, because you think like a lot of, because the MCU has appealed to like everybody, like not just comic book fans, not just movie fans. Like it's arguably the most successful franchise, movie wise, at least right now, but arguably of all time in a lot of ways. So, and everyone has come very, they know what to expect. All the Marvel movies have a certain tone to them. They all connect in some way, and this one has the potential of being, based on what we've seen, very different, especially getting this information. So, I agree. It was definitely a good idea for them to kind of get ahead of some things and let people know, because you never know how people would react. I mean, people went crazy, like I said, about Mandalorian being short episode wise. So, like, I mean, you can only imagine what they would do if you turn it on and like you see a 50 sitcom with
They
Elizabeth
start
Olsen.
tweet they start tweeting, Disney's WandaVision is messed up, and I can't get color.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, how many people are gonna like, that's the thing too, you gotta think of how many like younger people who don't even know what black and white TVs are. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there's so many people out there who like literally don't even know that was a thing. Like,
yeah.
and they probably watch the Avengers movies, and they're gonna turn this on like, what's my TV's broken.
What the
Mom,
yeah.
dad, what's going on here? But definitely a good idea.